If you've ever mixed a song and thought you had it just the way you wanted it to be, and then you listened to it on your phone and it didn't sound good, or you uploaded it to Spotify or YouTube and the professional grade mixes next to it just sound so much better, well, this video is for you. We're going to explore high-pass filtering, which is one way to help get your mixes closer to professional quality. I'm Keith Livingston from No Label, No Producer, No Limits.com. Let's dive right in. A high-pass filter is a filter, or an EQ, that allows highs to pass through. In other words, it cuts out the lows. So let's learn how to use this tool to help clarify our mix. First, a little background. As a general rule, each instrument in a mix has its own frequency range, and they should be different for the different instruments. Cymbals on a drum kit, they're high frequency, whereas the bass guitar is mostly low frequency. When you have too many instruments in the same frequency range, they fight with each other and they do what's called masking, which simply means they're competing and making it difficult to hear. So in the low end, that's a problem. And we're going to reduce that problem through the use of high-pass filtering. Now, I'm narrating into this channel, and let's pull up something called Re-EQ. Re-EQ is an EQ that comes with Reaper. You can see it has a frequency analyzer in it, and the sounds go from low on the left to high on the right. And there's a ton of low-end information in my voice here. Narration is a little different than singing, so let me sing just a few notes here. Yeah, 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 yeah. So look at that. When I sing, you're going to see these notes. Ooh, these bumps in the frequency response. Ooh. They're different depending on which note I sing. Those are the notes that I'm singing and the mathematically related harmonics and subharmonics to those notes. So if you'll notice below about 80 hertz, you won't see those bumps in the frequency response. Ooh, this isn't musical information down here. Ooh. So that is a fairly low note. So the stuff below that probably isn't musically useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this is set for high pass, and I'm going to enable it. And now you can see it is set for, 73 hertz, about 74 hertz. I'm going to take it to about 1 kilohertz. And notice this sounds more like a telephone voice. And I also want you to pay attention to these two lines here. The top faint line is the signal coming into the EQ, the original signal. This bottom line is after the EQ, and you can see we're reducing a ton of low in there. But we're also taking out the beef and the meat and the warmth. So let's roll it back until we have a decent sound. Yeah, 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 yeah. Solo up an instrument, put a high-pass filter on it, and then sweep it up and down until you discover the place where it starts to sound thin or brittle or it lacks warmth, and then back it off from there. And as you can see now, I'm pulling out, somewhere between 1 and maybe 5 dB of low end from about 50 hertz down. So I'd like to take a minute and listen to the delta, and now I have this set at about 40 hertz for the roll-off. And I want to listen to just what is being removed from the signal. So I can do that here by alt-clicking on this knob, and we should just hear what's being removed. Check 1, check 2. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, that's what we're taking out. Now, you're going to want to listen to this in the mix as well, because you really don't know the results of what you're doing until you can hear it in the mix. So use this sweeping technique to figure out where it starts to sound thin and fine-tune it a little bit to your ear's desire. Knocking a dB or two out of the low end is not going to magically clear up the bottom end of your mix. However, when you do it across tracks, it really adds up. If you notice this, so if I turn this off again, You notice all this low end information. It's between 100 and 20 hertz down here. Now, where is the bass guitar? The low note on a bass guitar, standard tuned bass guitar, is 41 or 42 hertz. So it's right in here. The fundamental sound of a kick drum, the heft, the beef, is going to be maybe from 45 to 80 hertz. So it's going to be right in this range as well. So this vocal is going to mask those instruments to some degree. So we want to high pass that a little bit and make it work for us a little bit better. There's more than one frequency analyzer. I have one here called Span from Voxengo. Let's take a look at that. Okay, this is Span by Voxengo. Let's enable it. So this is 40 hertz, and you can see there's still a little bit from 40 to 30. And as I go up the scale a little bit, we have significant amounts of low end. So I'd like to add another high pass filter, and we'll take some more low end out of this. This is the TDR Slick. And as you can see right here, it says HP Freak, high pass frequency. So let's turn that on. We'll enable it. And I'm going to click on this and just roll it up to somewhere around 80 something hertz. And let's take a look back at Span. So now we can see there's less information down here between 40 and 30 and less low end in general. Let's pull this off and you can watch the low end build back up. There it is off. You can see the low end is building back up down here. And so we can get rid of more of that EQ. Here it is on again by clicking there, and you can see that reduces the low end some. So high pass filters may look different from each other, but they will generally perform the same function. You can use a high pass filter on individual instruments. You can use it on buses. You can use it on a full mix. In each case, you'll want to pull it up and make sure you're not thinning out that instrument too much or removing the warmth or the weight from it. Obviously, a female voice will be different. My voice on different songs would be different. The genre will change it a little bit. But here's what I'd recommend you do. Take your instruments, pull them up on a frequency analyzer, and see what's going on with the low end. When you get your full mix ready to go, pull a reference track, some song that's of a similar genre and about the same tempo. Pull a reference track into your project and play it through Voxengo Span. Take a look at what's happening at the low end. Then put your mix through at the same level into Voxengo Span. And if your low end is off, pull in a high pass filter like the Slick EQ and see if you can round it off and make your low end a little more closely match the low end of the mix you're shooting for. Now, why is this so important? Why is it so important to remove unnecessary low end from a mix? And the answer is, acoustically, lower sounds are long wavelengths. In order to reproduce those long wavelengths with speakers, the speaker cones have to move huge distances. This takes a lot of power. And it's the same thing is true in your mix. The low frequencies take a lot of power. So if you're producing unnecessary low frequencies, they are sucking the power out of your mix. I kind of look at it this way. It's like going on a hike and putting extra weights in your backpack. You want to take those weights out. It's as if you have a quota for how much sound you can jam into Spotify, and you're using up some of that quota with unnecessary low end. So you remove those unnecessary low frequencies and you've lowered the level of your song, but your song doesn't sound any quieter. But since you've lowered the level, Spotify will automatically adjust for that, and your song level will be closer to that of professional mixes. Another factor is it's very difficult for small speakers to reproduce low end. They just don't do it very well. So your phone is going to be trying to push 30 and 40 hertz out of it, but it's going to crap out, basically, and your mix isn't going to sound as good. So once we clear that up, the phone speakers have more energy to produce the actual sound that you want to be there. Now, I've just suggested that you use a frequency analyzer so you can see what's going on in the low end. But you may have heard over the years, people just tell you to use your ears. The problem is, If you're working in a high-end studio that has incredible monitors and maybe a subwoofer, yeah, you can hear that low end. But if you're working in your bedroom with mid-range studio monitors, they're not going to produce that ultra low end in the way that these big monitoring systems will. Plus, you probably don't have a perfectly tuned room. So use every tool that you can, and that includes tools that will show you the visual aspect of what's going on. Sometimes that's the way you got to do it. If you're watching this on social media, there's going to be a link in the description or in the comments, which will take you to a page that will give you more detail and other methods to get your mix in the ballpark of professional mixes. And I'll show you where to download the resources that we talked about today. The Voxengo Span is free to download. I'll give you a download link on that page. The Slick EQ is also free, and Re-EQ is free. And those resources will be available on that page, as well as more information to get your mixes up to snuff. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, follow, share. Go to my website. We'll see you there for more. Bye for now.